President Trump calling on the U.S. an economic power today as he floats putting $200 billion in tariff profits into America's pockets in the form of $2,000 stimulus checks. Here's what he said to me about this topic back in September. You talk about the hundreds of billions of dollars that have come in because of the tariffs. Would you consider, where's that money going to go? Would you consider giving it back to taxpayers while they wait for some of the things that you just talked about to kick in? Is that an option?
Politically, that's a nice thing to do, but you can do that and you can also pay down debt because we're talking about very big numbers.
So which do you like better?
Both, maybe. I mean, I could see both.
With that, we bring in Marcus Lemonis, host of The Fixer on Fox Business, which airs at 8 p.m. on Tuesdays and is available on Fox Nation. Also, the executive chairman of Beyond and the CEO of Camping World. Great to have you with us.
That's a lot of stuff.
Marcus. That's a lot of resume there. Great to see you. Thank you for being here. So what do you think about this idea? Because the president does talk a lot about the amount of money that's coming into the coffers from these tariffs. And there are some pressures on the economy. What do you think of this idea?
Well, I appreciate the administration's idea of recognizing that homeowners and families are struggling right now. And with interest rates being where they're at and mortgage rates being where they're at, we're trying to provide some relief. I think that's ideologically a good idea. Practically, he's a smart business person. And so if we move this over into corporate debt, and we thought about a company that had a lot of debt, it was overly leveraged like this country is, we wouldn't automatically then take any excess cash and issue a dividend. We would pay our debt down. So I appreciate that President Trump understands, yes, people are struggling, but the practical application of it is that we need to pay our debt down.
So, and you heard him say that he would like to do a little bit of both.
I think he would like to, but I think if you look at the leverage of the country and you look at where rates are, the other piece that I worry about, Martha, is if you infuse $2,000, not like we did during COVID where money was just everywhere, but if you infuse $2,000 in homeowners' pockets, money's going to start to flood into the economy, and it could give us a false positive about what the health of the economy is. And if we're pushing to drive interest rates down, we need the data, because we've gotten really bad data on jobs and a variety of other things. We need the data to be clean.
So, you know, this makes me think about the broader picture. When you think about AI and you think about certain jobs going away, and we talk about universal basic income as something that the country might need to provide eventually. Are we getting into a situation where it's not just going to be $2,000, but it might be more than that down the road?
Well, I would hope not. That's what Mondami wants here in New York City, where everybody just makes the same. We still live in a meritocracy where people have to perform and show up and do the right things. I think ultimately what concerns me the most is it's unaffordable to buy a home. It's hard for people to pay their bills. The idea isn't to just pass money out. The idea is, what are the levers that need to be pulled on to free some of that up? Part of it is the interest rates are high, and they're costing Americans a lot of money right now.
So would you recommend a program, you know, if you wanted to get some of this money to people, would it be better to do it for people buying a first home, for example, to give them a little bit of help with that, and that would help to stimulate the housing market a little bit, to make it specific?
I don't know what $2,000 is going to do when you're trying to buy a new home. I mean, you have a down payment of 10 or 20%. I don't know if that's going to do anything. I think there could be some tax credits. There has to be other ways to incentivize people to act, to perform, to do something. If you push all this money into housing, it's actually going to make home prices go up because there's a finite amount of supply and demand would increase pretty considerably. I think right now we just need to see interest rates come down. We had it a year ago when the Fed had this emergency. We got some unemployment data and there was an emergency and we cut the rates. Where's the emergency now?
Marcus Lemonis, thank you very much, host of The Fixer on FBM and Fox Nation. Great to see you. Thank you for coming by.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Compagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.